Dr. Balthazar here. Got another house call to make, breaking down a film, this time 1989's Roadhouse. Thanks for the request, appreciate the implied compliment. My Before Times videos are typically things that I was cognizant of at the time of release, enjoyed quite a bit, and no shortage of people thought I was dumb as fuck because of it. These movies became cult classics over time since they may have stumbled out of the gate, but fans eventually got behind them, proving me right and providing the sweet ambrosia of an I told you so moment. Roadhouse fits the first two criteria, but I don't know if I'd call it a cult classic. Everyone I knew thought it kicked ass at the time. It was produced on a budget of $15 million, drew $61 million at the global box office, has raked in another $142 million in VHS, DVD, and streaming sales, and was a cable TV mainstay. Looks more like a steady earner than a cult classic that needed time to find its legs to me, but maybe I'm arguing semantics of no one in particular. Earlier this year, its remake with Jake Gyllenhaal cleaned house on Amazon Prime, insofar as high viewership numbers equates to success on streaming platforms. I don't pretend to understand the economics of such things, although increased subscriber numbers and advertising revenue feels like the only ways to translate views into dollars on streaming platforms, but who knows to what degree it did that. Anyway, my film review approach is made a bit easier since we can largely forego the characters' world-building and themes. Roadhouse is a dumb action flick that's stupid fun for guys for the sake of stupid fun for guys, which isn't the worst thing to be given the scarcity of such things in recent years. For context, 1989 was the year Tim Burton's Batman took over the world and ate everyone's lunch, bringing in stupid money, though it would be a meaningful period of time before comic book superheroes unseated standard action movies as the means by which the lucrative dude market may best be tapped into. Arnold, Sly, Bruce, Kurt, all were kicking names and taking ass in this time period. You had the Christian conservatives' moral majority still around at the time, but they were losing steam as the 80s were winding down, and were too preoccupied of directing their vitriol at musicians and homosexuals to care overmuch about action films. We also were a long ways off from the neoliberal concepts of political correctness. So if you wanted to make a movie that featured precious little outside of fights, explosions, and gratuitous nudity,
that's the artistic portion of the film,
there weren't a lot of bitchy groups on the political right or left pulling the fake offended act at its existence. If it made money, the people at the helm went on to work more projects. And if it didn't, they were dismissed as a bunch of hard-ons that needed to grow up a little bit, and either went away or went to work for Cannon Films. In 1987, Dirty Dancing was an unexpected success, putting Patrick Swayze on everyone's radar. In 1989 began his 3-year run of box office hits of Roadhouse, followed by Ghost in 90, and Point Break in 91. Nearly $300 million in 3 years for the former Disney theatrical group dancer from Houston, Texas. Roadhouse was written by R. Lance Hill under the alias of David Lee Henry. It was directed by Rowdy Harrington, both of whom went on to more projects in Hollywood, but nothing of any great distinction, which, with all due respect, is probably an example of maximizing one's limited potential. Our story opens in a well-lit, cleanly maintained 80s bar where the singularly named Dalton is presented as a famous bouncer known all over the US. He no-sells a knife wound since he's too badass to show pain.
Pain don't hurt.
And presents with personality traits of forbearance and even temperament. He accepts a job to clean up a dive bar in Hicksville, USA called the Double Deuce, which seems to be named as such for a cheap laugh later.
The Double Douche.
The film is most hilarious when it's trying to be serious, and most cringeworthy when it tries its hand at comedy. It's the old idea that a person who puts on a funny hat looking to be funny may be mildly amusing, but it's when a person has no clue that their hat is funny that it's really hilarious. We shuffle on over to the Double Douche to showcase the challenges Big D will need to contend with to get this episode of Bar Rescue sorted. His celebrity in the dive bar world is reinforced several times, and we have some dialogue alluding to him smoking some dude.
Killed the guy once. Ripped his throat right out.
Oh, shit.
The throat rip concept was panned in the comedy of Gruber because the idea is just ridiculous. But then again, Rambo Part Whatever made it seem like, hey, maybe that's a thing after all, so I don't know. Couple things to note before we move on. First off, the bars all look a lot nicer than the dens of vice that existed in an era that hadn't banned cigarettes in bars or restaurants. But you can't shoot scenes in the dark, and the vibe is more like 38 Special's So Caught Up in You video from 1982 than anything based on a gritty reality. Secondly, the United States is 3.8 million square miles, with however the fuck many watering holes. The idea of a celebrity bouncer known from coast to coast is absurd. If they chose to limit the scope to a single urban area, yeah, okay, word can get around town about a bad motherfucker twisting knots at the front doors. Take Lenny McLean's reputation around London, for example. But it's the 80s, so go big or go home. Third of all, Patrick Swayze is in shape, but he's a little fella. Not all jacked up and intimidating like the prototypical bouncer. Again, take Lenny McLean for example.
Well, say we're having a fight, you shape up, right? Right. Where's the game? Right. See, that's how I would do it.
The movie steers into this by having almost every character with the speaking part say, I thought you'd be bigger.
You know, I thought you'd be bigger.
For that line of work, I thought you'd be bigger.
Yeah, and I thought you'd be bigger.
but it's more of a wink to the audience to play along, as opposed to a build for a punchline later. Personally, I think they should have followed up by having one of the more comedic homeboys say, well, I think he grew a few inches after he kicked some dude's ass. Or one of the more comedic villains say, damn, you a big motherfucker, followed by a quizzical look or something. But I don't know, maybe those punchlines would have fallen just as flat as the ones Harrington opted for. We also have the Jeff Healey Band as the Double Douche's house band, who provides most of the soundtrack for the film. Healey signed with the record label Arista in 1988, so the thought process was probably he'll debut with the hit album in 89, while this film cleans Roadhouse at the box office, and there'll be a synergy with film and record sales pushing each other up. That didn't really pan out, although the theory was sound. Healey's debut album did okay. It broke into the top 100, but nothing special. Jeff Healey passed away in 2008, so I'm not ripping on a blind man who died of cancer at age 41. Brevity aside, please stay on top of your screenings and check with your primary care physician as you get older. You can't fall behind on some things and come out okay. Anyway, the choice of musician could have been worse. As Exhibit A, I present to you 1987's Lost Boys. But anyway, Dalton starts the process of cleaning Roadhouse by firing some dudes, which creates a personal animosity towards him. Former NWA World Champion Terry Funk is one of them that gets the axe. Funker had a career in pro wrestling that lasted for over 50 years, and was from the old school Dave Schultz era of kayfabe. Telling these guys wrestling was fake always seemed like a great idea to people, right up until they got close enough to experience a direct response. Did we learn anything today, son? We also get introduced to the big bad who looks like Jimmy Buffett, kind of acts like Jimmy Buffett too. The idea seemed to be his pleasant demeanor would clash with the sadistic actions, making him an even scarier version of crazy, but he mostly seems like a friendly older guy, all things considered. I'd refer to him as Jimmy Buffett, but the character's name is Brad Wesley, which sounds even more absurd to me. Some of the dudes who got shit canned from their low-paying dive bar jobs are family, so Brad Wesley wants them hired back. Although as the head of a criminal empire in the largely bullish market of the 80s, one would think he could find them better-paying jobs elsewhere. Dalton gets slashed with another knife, which he also no-sells. The female lead is introduced to staple him up. She's a physician, so of course she's into guys who work at dive bars. Although I have to admit, a beautiful, intelligent, independent woman going in for a bad boy loser type, because deep down her self-esteem is still shit, is probably the most realistic part of the movie. I'd question if she's believable as a doctor, but a fair retort would be whether I'm believable as a doctor, so we'll just keep moving along. Shut up! Our big bad needs less Mormon and more menace, so he slaps up on one of his employees without injuring himself or having a heart attack, which seems like something of a miracle for a man of his age and physicality. It's the 80s, so we have a monster truck. There may be a springtime child or two out there asking, what the fuck is a monster truck? To which the answer is yes. Well, wait a minute, that wasn't a yes or no question. The fucking answer is yes. Moving on. The film has been foreshadowing a bouncer who's even more badass than Dalton, but rather than keeping him off screen until he can make a surprise entrance to lay the smackdown in Act 2, they just get him on the phone to show it's Sam Elliott. Why hold out a character for a surprise reveal when you can shoot a throwaway scene in a strip club? Although the film never passes up an opportunity to show some flesh. I lost track of the number of artistic scenes. Also for the dudes who go in for other dudes, Patrick Swayze spends about half the movie greased up in baby oil looking for a shirt, and they set up a scene with no function beyond him giving the camera his ass. Stupid people can argue these scenes are for the benefit of the ladies rather than gay men, but that's why stupid people get put in timeout. We have more bar fights with some proper 80s one-liners.
You're too stupid to have a good time.
In 80s action films, it's important to have witty banter when kicking ass. It's kind of like the rules of dueling in The Secret of Monkey Island. Anyway, the bar gets cleaned up literally and figuratively, and our guy bangs Dr. High Standards. So I guess the job is done here. Great work, everyone. Roll credits. Oh, wait, we're only about an hour in. Time for some seriously contrived plot twists. So Brad Wesley has liquor interest in the bar, meaning its massive upturn in business will profit him immensely. But instead, he's cutting off the supply of booze so nobody will make money. Master criminal, to be sure. Keith David is behind the bar now, so Jimmy Buffett better rethink that idea or get up on a stage and play some Cheeseburger in Paradise before he gets his bitch ass beaten to death. But it's just a cameo. David doesn't have a role in the film, so that's neither here nor there. Sam Elliott makes his formal entrance as our protagonist, Yeah Buddy. He appears to be recovering from a severe bout of malnutrition, but okay. They try to add some personal animosity between Brad Wesley and the Big D with a jealousy angle, suggesting Brad Wesley was jilted by Dr. High Standards. But he's old enough to be her father, and it feels like it's getting crowbarred in a little late in the film to land. To give our hero some gravitas, Yeah Buddy monologues about the murder Dalton got away with before the movie opened. We've had fights and a steady supply of TNA, but no explosions to this point, so we need some fucking explosions. Brad Wesley obliges by bombing out local businesses for no discernible reason. He then has his girlfriend perform a striptease for our hero, despite the fact that he slapped her up earlier in the movie for wanting a piece of the Big D. Internal consistency would only be expected if there was an effort made to create actual characters, which ain't going on here. He then has a henchman named Jimmy fuck shit up and do a cartwheel roundoff since gymnastics is synonymous with barroom brawling or something. Bigfoot crushes some cars since that's what Bigfoot does. Although Gravedigger would have known to pull some donuts to pop the crowd before the jet car comes out to push the rednecks to volume 11. Fucking A. But fine, okay, whatever. Dalton loses cool demeanor and his shirt, again. We then have a clash of low-cash titans between him and henchman Jimmy, who flips the script on the 80s action hero by dropping a pretty formidable one-liner that our guy just has no response to whatsoever.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
Come on, my dude. Monkey Island rules. Play like a champion today. Let's see what he could have done here.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
Oh, that's not right. No.
Okay, that's a misfire. Go again.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
That's hot.
All right, not quite there, but we're moving in the right direction.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
Why don't I just bend you over that table and nail you in the keister?
Yeah, I think we got him back there. Let's see if we can go in for the W.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
No.
Nah, we lost it again. That's an L for Dr. Balthazar. Anyway, henchman Jimmy gets tired of rolling around in the dirt, so he pulls a gun. Dalton disarms him and then gets himself a throat rip. Brad Wesley responds by having Yeah Buddy killed, giving Patrick Swayze a chance to really show his acting prowess.
I've never seen acting that good.
He's amazing.
We haven't had a car explode yet, so we get that itch scratched. Brad Wesley's crew is smoked off screen since there's no practical way for an unarmed dancer to kill all these dudes by himself. Dalton then decides not to throat rip Brad Wesley as Dr. High Standards randomly manifests out of the ether, followed by various local business owners who pick this exact moment to free themselves from the questionable Margaritaville Enterprises extortion racket by committing murder in the first. The police arrive to find a group of people in the home of a person they all have a personal grudge against, surrounded by corpses that have been violently murdered. And everyone says they didn't see anything, so they're released on personal recognizance, since nobody here is a suspect.
Can't have a murder without a witness. What?
Dalton teases a cockshot as he and Dr. High Standards skinny dip in the middle of the day in front of some redneck. Roll credits. So let's revisit the throat rip and associated backstory to illustrate a point about how characters aren't developed in any meaningful way. For sake of comparison, let's consider a simple character arc from another 80s film, Top Gun. Maverick is a confident young hotshot who is good at his job. A traumatic moment causes him to lose confidence, resulting in self-doubt that prevents him from being good at his job and interferes in his personal relationships. He overcomes these feelings to once again be good at his job. In the case of Dalton, we have a traumatic moment that happened before the story begins. Yeah Buddy informs the audience that he needs to let go of the emotional baggage connected with it.
I can't believe you're still dragging that shit around with you. Cut it the fuck loose.
But does his past trauma impair his decision-making and prevent him from being good at his job? No, he's known around the country as the best bouncer there is. Does it get in the way of his finding success at the Double Douche? No, he cleans up the bar before the third act. Does it prevent him from having healthy relationships? No, he's doing just fine with Dr. High Standards. Does it prevent him from throat ripping henchman Jimmy? No, he rips that throat without a second thought. Does his decision not to throat rip Brad Wesley indicate he's let go of his emotional baggage? No, that would be evidence of him steering into the guilt and hesitation that he was told he needs to let go of. This disconnect between what we're told about the importance of his past trauma and what we're shown in the movie means these aren't characters of human traits that inform their decisions. They're just an outcome of whatever the situation calls for in a given scene without a consideration of how past events would influence emotions or actions. The scene is also an example of themes being non-existent. If we want to accept Yeah Buddy's monologue as presenting a thematic message on how homicide can be justified outside of wartime scenarios on the grounds of self-defense, provided it's believable that the victim presents a genuine danger to one's life.
And when a man sticks a gun in your face, you got two choices. You can die or you can kill the motherfucker.
Neither the throat rip of henchman Jimmy nor the decision not to throat rip Brad Wesley worked to develop the theme, since Dalton had comfortably disarmed both opponents before the throat rip decision. Again, it's a problem of show and tell. If a theme is going to be developed, there has to be a consideration of what you tell their viewer and how you show it to them. As presented, if there's any message here, it's that it's okay to commit murder when you're really angry, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about it if the courts choose not to drop the hammer on you, which isn't the theme of the movie. This movie has no themes. The absence of follow-up to henchman Jimmy's murder is also an example of world building being non-existent. Even if you felt like the self-defense argument could get Dalton off the hook, the police don't even bring him in for questioning. It's all good, you killed this dude, chucked his corpse in the pond. He was a dick anyway.
Wesley! Fuck you!
So this isn't a world that exists with any consistent rules that govern what can and can't be done. That makes it a world of contrivance, where anything can happen if the script has it happen. World building means creating rules early on that are consistently abided by throughout. You can't just do whatever the fuck and then say, well, that's how this world is built. As of characters and themes, world building requires deliberate consideration to get credit for its existence. In conclusion, Roadhouse is stupid fun for the sake of stupid fun. It's decidedly masculine in its appeal. If fistfights, explosions, and gratuitous nudity are things you enjoy, it's going to work. If the action genre ain't your flavor of vodka, it's not going to work. Roadhouse was uniquely suited to cable TV, since you could drop into the movie at any point in time without feeling like you needed to see anything that came before to get what was going on. But then this was the before times, and streaming services put an end to dropping into something mid-scene. I haven't seen the Roadhouse remake with Jake Gyllenhaal, so I have no idea if it's worth a watch. But for those that like to get in on some badass tough guy man shit, my prescription is The Warriors. For those that are all in on the NHL playoffs, but have a little time for some Patrick Swayze before the puck drops, my prescription is Youngblood. And for those that just dig on all things 80s, Better Off Dead. I'm Dr. Balthazar. If you're still here, feel encouraged to throw down on that subscribe button. And as always, like what you like, don't what you don't. It's all your call, Kemosabe. Take it easy, everyone.